Knowledge and Innovation Network for Ecosystem Transformation and Impact Conversation series. Today's episode explores a subject that is becoming increasingly central to Indian future: the relationship between scientific research, deep tech innovation and national development. In honor to welcome Dr. Kishore Paknikar, ANRF Prime Minister Professor at COEP Tech University, former Director of Agharkar Res Institute and former Visiting Professor at Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Dr. Paknikar, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to come here at PKC. I look forward to a fruitful interaction.
Definitely. To begin, I would like to start with broader question about the changing relationship between science and society in India today. My first question to Dr. Paknikar is, India is placing increasingly emphasis on deep tech innovation, translational research and scientific self-resilience. From your perspective, how is the relationship between scientific research and national development evolving today?
Oh, to my mind, I think it is changing a lot. For example, earlier times we were only looking at doing some research, publishing papers, producing PhD students, and then generally building our careers. Now things are changing because increasingly people are interested in knowing how does your research actually benefit the society, how does it benefit the country. These kind of questions are being asked. And fortunately, the government has responded very positively about it. I take a lot of pride in this new development where ANRF has been started as a new mission, the Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Yes. And I think that is, if you have seen the recent announcement about the Advanced Research Grant, they already talk about 3 different areas. One is fundamental research, second is application oriented basic research, and then third one is the completely translational research. So that means they are covering the entire gamut of scientific research. And the evaluations also will be kind of different. It is not going to be the same yardstick to evaluate these programs. And the funding available is quite high. So these are all changing things. So people will be looking at how many patents will, not only just publications, but what is the exact impact on the society? How does it is benefiting the citizen of the country? So I think these are major changes which are happening.
Okay. That last shift is now nations perceive science is particularly interesting because it also changes how scientists themselves approach research and problem solving. And your own journey reflects an unusual interdisciplinary scientific path. My next question to you is, your work spans microbiology, nanobiotechnology, environmental science, and translation innovation. Across these diverse domains, what scientific principles or philosophies have remained constant throughout your own journey?
I think right from the beginning, I have realized one thing, that it is all nature ultimately which teaches me everything. So basically, my all research has been nature inspired, particularly microbe inspired research.
Any specific microbe you would like to mention?
Yeah, I mean, I started, my PhD was on a bacterium called Thiobacillus, where I used to work on extracting copper from ores using this bacterium. And so that started my connection with the applied application side of these microbial technologies. And microbes are, they are very clever. They have solved practically every problem in the world. So there are a lot of things which we can learn. So the continuing thread across my all changes, as you see in the careers, is this metal microbe interactions and borrowing wisdom from microbes to do anything. So that's how I transitioned from, let's say, biometallurgy, which was my original field in my PhD. Then I came very easily to environmental biotechnology, because microbes teach you how to degrade chemicals, how to degrade pesticides, or how to even sequester metals. how to recover metals, and then or detoxify metals, and then finally I came to nanotechnology because some microbes teach you how to make nanoparticles. They naturally make it. So that's how. So I didn't find any real transition in this. So it came very naturally to me. That's what I think.
So they all were correlated with each other,
Yes, yes.
step by step after your.
And the inspiration was microbiology, the microbes, and the nature-inspired technologies. Because in nature you learn everything, and nature has practically solved all kind of problems.
So you think nature is more smarter than us?
Of course, there is no doubt. Yes.
Thank you. What's interesting is that despite working across such diverse domains, this seems to be a common thread of translational thinking running throughout your work. Which brings me to another important shift currently happening within Indian science itself. For a long time, Indian science was evaluated largely throughout the publications and academic outputs. Do you think the culture around research translation, commercialization, and societal impact is genuinely changing now?
It is changing, but I think it is changing very slowly. I would like to have it, faster than this. And this is not only Indian phenomenon, it's everywhere, all over the world. You are judged, as a scientist, you are judged in terms of number of papers, citations. And so people don't have time to really look at the meaning of what you have done. What is the real contribution of your research paper? That people don't try to understand. I will not generalize it, but generally it is everything goes by only by numbers. So in India also same thing is being followed for a long time now. I've been writing about it in my articles, and I think slowly people have realized that this is not the only thing. You cannot judge everything only by numbers. Ultimately, what you have written in a research paper is more important. And what is the impact of that work, that becomes more important. I always say that journals, people talk about impact factor of the journals.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that is the impact factor of the journals. What we need to understand is what is the impact of our work, which we are writing in that journal. According to me, if you really talk about impact factors, the highest impact factor publication could be if your work is cited in a school textbook. That is the highest impact.
Because that's how the children is going to read your work.
Yes, and that's how. For example, Newton's laws, everyone knows, and that is available in the school textbook. That is something. So, are we doing something which is that fundamental, which will maybe after 25 years will appear in the school textbook? That will decide your impact of the work.
That translation from publication-centric science towards impact-oriented science also seems to be encouraging much more interdisciplinary collaboration. And increasingly, some of the most important technologies are emerging precisely at these interactions. Many transformative technologies today are emerging at intersection of disciplines rather than within isolated fields. How critical is interdisciplinary science for solving the complex challenges of the coming decades?
I think interdisciplinary work is not an optional now. It is kind of mandatory.
It's a need of the time.
It's a need of the time. Because all the problems that we currently face, from climate change or water pollution, they're all multidisciplinary. They require multidisciplinary solutions or interdisciplinary solutions. A lot of people will have to come together and solve these problems. Only one disciplinary person cannot solve it. And ultimately, these disciplines are not, nature doesn't make these disciplines. Okay, we have made it. The universities have this kind of watertight compartments. But to solve an issue, you need contributions from different kind of people. And that's the only way. That's what I feel.
It almost suggests that future innovation ecosystems may depend less on isolated expertise and more on ability to integrate knowledge across domains. You have also spent considerable time mentoring researchers and innovation-driven startups. You have mentored researchers, startups, and innovation-driven ecosystem over many years. In your experience, what distinguishes meaningful scientific innovation from incremental experimentation?
That's a very, very simple answer. See, if you are doing some incremental research, you will always ask question, what will be my next paper? But if you are doing some meaningful research, the question will be different. What work, how this work will affect the common person, the citizen of this country. So if you are addressing this kind of, or what, how this work is going to solve a problem which is affecting the society. So if that is the question, then this is definitely a deeper question.
So your work should be related to the beneficiary of the
Yes,
society.
and this I have been talking about it for many years, and this it all started because of my professors, my mentors. Because even my PhD work, which I did on metal extraction, my guide said we cannot stop at the lab level.
Yeah.
We'll have to go to the field, and that's what we did. So it all came from that, and I continued that tradition in my life.
That distinction between genuine innovation and incremental experimentation becomes especially important when we talk about translational science into societal system. Because often the real challenge begins after the laboratory stage, as whatever you have said just now. There is often a significant gap between laboratory success and real-world deployment. Where do you think India still faces the biggest institutional or structural bottleneck in translating research into scalable societal solutions?
I think the Indian institutions have to change their mindset, because again it comes to the same previous set of questions. Our work, we do something at the lab scale in the test tube, publish a paper, and then we stop there. There is kind of a reservation or some kind of unknown fear in people's mind that if you really go from lab scale to a bigger scale, and if you fail, there is this fear of failure, which nobody wants to take.
Yes, that's true.
That's right. So that fear has to go. And the fear has to go, and the system required is there that the government system or any scientific institutions should accept that failure is a part of success.
Success, correct.
So eventual success will happen only after a series of failures. Only I always advise that if you want to either you succeed or fail fast, so that you can change the course and again go on proper track. So this mindset has to change. So failure has to be accepted. Nothing. I mean, there is no comparison between lab scale and field scale, or even higher scale, full level scale. So that has to change. Then people have to come out of this short-term, publish a paper, get a degree, get patents, go abroad for a postdoc. That has to change.
But then you have to come back also, correct?
Yes, you have to come back. People don't want to come back. So, when I started this startup, for example, was not a very glamorous thing. But I knowingly or unknowingly kind of encouraged my own PhD students to go this way. And fortunately, many of them are very successful today. Because if somebody has worked on an applied problem or a product for their PhD, the best way to prove is go for a startup and show to the world that it's really worth doing this.
So that the common people will also know.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. So the issue is not simply about scientific discovery, but about whether the institution, funding systems, industries, and policy framework are capable of supporting translation at scale, which naturally connects to the Indian broader deep tech ambitions. India increasingly speaks about becoming a global deep tech innovation leader. What capabilities must research institution and universities built in the country wants to compete seriously in frontier technologies?
I can tell you about universities now because now I'm experiencing that for the first hand. Now, for example, the engineering universities or engineering colleges, they are reducing the component of basic sciences in their curriculum. I am seeing that, and that I feel is not correct. For example, physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics. These are all core areas, and you need to strengthen them all the time, because
They are the
ultimately,
basics.
yes,
Yeah.
ultimately, on the basis of those things, the frontier technologies have developed. Quantum science now, and even AI, biotechnology. They have all come from curiosity-driven science, and curiosity-driven science is run by these fundamental subjects.
Subjects, correct.
So no technological university or no engineering university can really contribute without strengthening these areas. So that is the first thing which are doing. The second thing is there has to be a lot of encouragement for having full-time research students, PhD students. Many of the engineering technological universities do not have full-time PhD students these days.
The students are not willing to, or the universities
No.
are not providing the grants?
It's a cycle. Students do not get enough stipend,
Stipend.
so they work somewhere and then they do part-time PhD. Now doing anything part-time.
Part-time is not
Yeah.
gonna work.
Yes. So in future there is a need actually to strengthen research culture in this kind of universities, and for that you need manpower in terms of PhD students. So if you are dedicated full time, then you end up doing something worthwhile. Otherwise, it's only just half-hearted effort. I told you 2 points, right?
Yes, 2 points, correct. First, about the basic science, we really need to add it in our curriculum. Building technological leadership clearly requires not only infrastructure and investment, but also a strong scientific culture and human capital pipeline, as just now you have
Yes,
said.
yes.
Yes. And you had the opportunity to observe this evolution quite closely through your work with younger researchers. As someone who has led scientific institutions and worked closely with young researchers, how do you see the aspiration and mindset of the next generation of Indian scientists evolving?
Yeah, that's actually a very brighter picture, because I see when I interact with young people, they are quite knowledgeable. They know how the world is working, okay, and they are very, very enthusiastic. They are very positive about accepting that interdisciplinary work. They are ready to do interdisciplinary work, for example.
So they are ready to accept.
They are ready to. I think in our time it was more compartmentalized, but now things are changing. At the same time, they are more techno savvy, so they can easily adapt to many changing things. And the only precaution they should take is that now AI has come a long way and it is going to affect everything. So over dependence on AI systems will not be really advisable because of various reasons. What else?
That's how do you aspire the next young generations? That's what was my question. How do you suggest them what they should do?
They should first try to do something full time.
Okay.
That is one. Then they should not depend a lot on artificial intelligence. Rather, they should use natural intelligence, which is abundant among them.
But they can take little bit help from
Little bit,
AI.
of course, that is possible. But see, you don't want to lose your power of thinking.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And that is very important in anything.
Your mind has to be controlled by you only.
Yeah. And then they should also know the other thing which I would definitely advise is They should have patience.
Patience, correct.
Patience is, something which people are losing very fast these days. So patience is required. They should also know that failures are inevitable. That's a natural part.
But that we have to taught from the young kid,
yes,
correct?
Yes. And also I would now also think of ethics. Ethics in research is very important. Ethics in doing anything is very important. Unless they have this background of ethics, you can always use a technology for a good purpose and also for something which is not so good. So that's also important.
Thank you. The aspiration of young scientists today seems far from interdisciplinary, entrepreneur and globally connected than earlier generations, as you say just now for the AI. At the same time, science itself evolved extraordinarily rapidly across multiple frontiers. Biotechnology, nanoscience, environmental systems and advanced materials are all undergoing rapid transformations globally. Which emerging scientific directions do you believe are currently underestimated but could become highly influential in the next decade?
Thanks for mentioning those disciplines, because I have worked in all those disciplines which you mentioned. And what I feel is that, of course, obviously interdisciplinary work is going to be more important. But I see that some fields like bioconvergence, for example. Bioconvergence, that means integration of biology with other disciplines, engineering.
But people don't like biology. That's the problem. Sometimes it takes time
it's
to
no, it's
run
no
the
question
experiment.
of liking, but if the future is going to be like that, you will have engineers which will understand biology, or biologists who will work in engineering fields. For example, we work in mining.
Mm-hmm.
Mining engineers and biology is something which nobody could think of, but that will be required. So this kind of, so I feel there is still a lot of scope for biology-oriented technologies, biotechnology, bioenergy, bioconvergent technologies. These are going to be the futures.
So biology with chemistry, physics and maths
With
has
all
to
other
be
disciplines. Yes.
Okay. It's always fascinating to understand which emerging scientific directions our experienced researchers believe the world may still underestimating, and perhaps that leads naturally to the broader reflection of India's long-term scientific trajectory. My next question to you is, if we were to look back 10 years from now, what would define success for India's scientific innovation ecosystem? Not just in terms of research outputs, but in terms of national impact and global relevance.
Definitely not research papers.
Correct.
Definitely not research papers. It all will depend on how as a country we are delivering things at the national level and international level, especially in terms of how we build up our industries, how we create employment, more employment. Are we just copying technologies from outside, or supplying technologies to others? That is going to be important. If you are talking about 10 years from now, then I would definitely want our universities to really come up to a standard of global level, because right now there are very few universities in India which are known abroad.
IITs or IICs.
Typical, but why not state universities also? So we should attract attention of the world to the state universities. That is required, and the state universities also will produce or should produce world-class research.
But we have to rebuild our universities or reconstruct in the way of scientific.
Yes, and it's a very big issue, and I think that's the reason why professors like us have been appointed. That is our main kind of task now, how to build up a research culture in a state university. there are a lot of challenges in that, but I think unless we begin, nothing is going to happen. And 10 years, I am sure something will happen.
Yes, you think it's 10 years or more than that?
I would expect 5 years, but still.
Dr. Paknikar, thank you once again for joining us and for sharing such thoughtful insights on science, innovation, translation research, and future of deep tech India. And thank you for our audience for joining us for this episode. Thanks.
Thank you.